Kasliwal surname is synonymous to Jaipur because we were the first settlers in town on the invitation of the Jaipur royal family. With legacy comes great responsibilities, and with that comes your family's name.
Also, your family personally designs the jewelry?
Yes, we do. My father had told me one thing very clearly that, son, it takes many generations to build a business, but it takes one to take it all down.
How do you balance that against the investment that you put into storytelling?
We don't have any marketing budget. It has all happened very organically.
How do you navigate this when you're a brand that has a presence in so many different places?
Treasures of the Gem Palace was the name of the show in 2006. We had over 30,000 people who visited the show. There was a parallel show going on for Tiffany and Company, but we had more visitors. When you see a piece of jewelry, there is a soul
to it. Hi, this is Anjana, and you're watching Indian Jewelers' brand new podcast, the How Did You Do It series. This is where we sit with thought leaders in the jewelry industry to understand one aspect of the business that they have cracked perfectly. So today we're with Gem Palace and with Siddharth Kasliwal, who's going to talk to us about how the brand has created this incredible presence internationally. Welcome to the show. Thank you for making the time for us.
Thank you for having me here.
So before we get started, can we understand a little bit about the legacy of the brand and why you're wearing that jacket?
Well, see, the legacy of our brand is the main ethos of the business. This is our identity. We always say Gem Palace from Jaipur, and we are very proud Rajasthanis from Jaipur. Kasliwal surname is synonymous to Jaipur because we were the first settlers in town on the invitation of the Jaipur royal family.
Right.
And we take great pride in everything, our food, our culture, our dressing sense. So this is something which we call our traditional hunting jackets, which we also call bandi, but these are the one that we use it more for a day-to-day casual. Right. And the ones we wear on the weddings are the ones with like big buttons.
So everyone in the family, that I saw today in this lovely Haveli of yours, everyone's walking around with the hunter jacket. I think it's incredible because your brand has such a strong identity and all these little elements add to that, right?
Yes.
So can we talk a little bit about this gorgeous Haveli that we're in right now? This is where your family moved into, 1852?
No, the place where we are sitting right now is where we moved here in early 1900s.
Right.
This is the main road called MI Road, which stands for Mirza Ismail Road, one of the most important streets in Jaipur. Right. And this is the new Jaipur, which was outside the city walls.
Right.
And our family moved here in late 1700s, but in the old part of the city.
Sure.
And 1852 is when we formally established it. And that's why it's the Gem Palace since 1852. So this present place that we are sitting at is been there for a little over 100 years. And we've been on this premises where my grandfather was born, my father, and now we have moved out, but we still have one of our families, one of our uncles still staying here. It was a very traditional thing in India that you used to, one of the family members stayed at the Gatti, it was called. Like, where your
Wherever
Gatti
you
was.
do your business.
So there was a house right there. So one of the family members stayed at the place of business.
Well, also, I think important when you're dealing with jewelry, right?
Yes. I believe we're very lucky to be in Jaipur.
Yeah.
It's a very safe city. And there's this belief, and it's an old Indian belief which actually works in our favor, that stolen jewelry never brings happiness. So we feel very lucky and blessed at the same time that we can have all the jewels lying around without particularly locking them up in like a big vault or a safe.
That's a wonderful message. Actually, we should sort of amplify that across the rest of India. We talked about the legacy of your family. How has that shaped your approach to business?
I see it's something that has been, like I'd mentioned, we are very proud of it. Since I was a 5-year-old boy, I grew up coming to the Gem Palace. I remember with my father and listening to the most amazing story of Marani Gayatri Devi coming for many years, and Lady Dinah, all these beautiful women from the global women from around the world who have made Gem Palace as their shopping destination. Or so all these like fabulous stories that I heard from my forefathers and my late father. It was just fascinating to grow up with that. And not only that you're just starstruck or you're celebrity struck, it's that Gem Palace is not only catering to Hollywood and Bollywood stars, but also to erstwhile royalty and business Maharajas, which we call are the current days Maharajas. So the legacy is very important for us because with legacy comes great responsibilities, and with that comes your family's name, which people hold it in a very high regard, and we need to keep that trust and that level of confidence with integrity. And my father had told me one thing very clearly that, son, it takes many generations to build a business, but it takes one to take it all down. So these were my first few lessons when I joined the family business, and they really remain close to me, that I'm very careful of moving forward or doing anything erratic or drastic that could
corrode the brand.
Yes, which can.
But it's an interesting thing that you brought up responsibility, because your brand deals with craftsmanship, which is so integral to not only the city but to the country. This is Indian jewelry, really quintessential Indian jewelry, and you sell internationally, right? So what were the considerations and challenges when you? I know this is not new. Gem Palace has been doing this for years. You all have also collaborated with the Met. You've had exhibitions as well. You've been in London, all around the world, right?
Yes.
In fact, you have a presence. Can you tell me firstly where you're located, and also what are the different sort of considerations and challenges that you all encountered?
See, there are a lot of challenges when you're trying to bring an Indian brand and the Indian school of thought globally and representing it internationally. I mean, times have changed. Gem Palace was one of the first brands to be recognized internationally. This is, I'm talking in 1950s and 60s, where there was no social media or anything. So it was something amazing that was done during my grandfather's time, that people heard of Gem Palace, and we were like featured in the first edition of Vogue, and there was all written about it. So one of the biggest challenge in today's time, Anjana, I would say, is like to keep your heritage and the tradition in mind, but yet adapting every day to the modern requirements and what people expect of you. However, what we take extreme extreme care is about our craftsmanship. And the traditional karigari which is what we focus on. But at the same time, making it more contemporary and more wearable stuff. So for example, I would say like we still do all the Kundan Meena work, but now we are doing that Kundan Meena and making them into like more whimsical, fun shapes in whether we would do them into like big nuggets and then hang them on a chain. It is a quality over quantity business, right? So the most important thing for us is the quality, and for that we don't compromise, and it's not a fast fashion or fast product that we would just like make multiples of. And that is what I believe sticking to that rule has made Gem Palace what we are today, that we have never gone down the commercial line.
So that sort of works around the world, just sticking to quality. That's what you're saying, is that as long as you stick to quality, the rest of it, the aesthetics, is not something that you really need to.
No. It's a combination of everything. You cannot just keep a very high quality and make. So it has to be the aesthetics, it has to be the tradition, it has to be all those the storytelling about a brand. Like each piece speaks a story,
Yeah.
And that's what our clients and that's what our brand is known for.
Yes.
That why this was done. Like there's a poison ring. So there's a story behind a poison ring, like how the poison rings came up, or there were the naughty rings in the age of Maharajas, which had a little picture of Kama Sutra inside.
Really?
And it was a fun conversation piece.
It's a fun conversation now.
Yeah, but I'm talking about 15th, 16th century where they would open a piece of jewelry and it would reveal an erotic scene from Kama Sutra, and they would like laugh about it over a cup of wine. So, you know, there is always a storytelling behind a piece. We also need to make it accessible, right? And not just make it like so expensive that it's out of reach of most of the people. So we would do, for example, we would do the traditional Mughal jewelry, and then we did the fun version of it. Instead of using diamonds and precious stone, we started using semi-precious stones, less expensive stones, more reasonable stones, as we call, like amethyst and tourmalines. And instead of emeralds, we started using tourmaline. Instead of rubies, we started using rubelites. And this kept the cost of the jewelry low and made it more accessible.
Also, your family personally designs the jewelry?
Yes, we do.
And what about research?
So it's the family again. It's Gem Palace is one of the very few firms which are vertically integrated, which is a vertically integrated brand, right from cutting and polishing, sourcing of raw materials to cutting and polishing, to designing, and finally executing the piece, to retailing. It's all done in-house. Which is very unusual for any other European or American brand to do.
Yeah, we were talking about this a bit earlier, and I do want you to talk about that a little bit. So just how different it is working in India, vis-a-vis, say, in the West, right? So you were telling me about the operations and the fact that you have the karigars here. Can we...
Yeah, of course. So see, India, I believe, and I'm not saying this because I'm a proud Indian, but I would just say this, that India truly is one of the most fascinating and yet the most talented countries around the planet. In India, there would be one person who would be doing majority of the work, like in a piece of jewelry, which could take over 2,000-3,000 man hours, could be just two people making it. It's usually the goldsmith and the setter, as compared to the other place where the machine makes it, and then one person is making the, like doing one part, and other one's making a screw of it, then the third person is joining it. It's not like that here. And especially of the pieces coming out of Gem Palace, they're all hand done. We don't use any machines. We do use the tools. And the only modernization in using our tool is the invention of electricity. Because now the machines help
just a lot faster.
But still everything that we do here is done by hand. And we are not using any computers to cut the stones, or we are not using any laser technologies. That's what makes us so unique, because all the pieces are done by hand. And what I was telling you, that when you see a piece of jewelry, there is a soul
to it. You touched on storytelling being such an important part of what you'll do. How do you balance that against the investment that you put into storytelling, right? It's got to have, you have to have your ROI as well, right?
We don't have any marketing budget or advertisement budget that we do. It has all happened very organically. It's always been through word of mouth. And we are very lucky with that people are intrigued. We have had great relationship with the press. They're always very interested in knowing about what the new generation is doing, the history of the brand, what the future of the brand lies. There have been a few coffee table books that have come out. That is one way of narrating our story. There have been documentaries made. BBC had shot a great documentary which was called Story of India.
But a lot of that is, sorry to cut you off, just a lot of that is also about the way you interact with the media, right? You invite people in to sort of tour the, I mean, that's not even just for the press, it's also for other people, right? To sort of tour the property and understand more about, I mean, take this room, for instance. If I was to open that, I'd be able to put out something and try it on without, I mean, who does that?
So that is something. So see, you are sitting in Rajasthan, which is also known for its hospitality, and in the famous words called Padharo Mare Des, which is welcome to our state, or welcome to our country. It is always been about hospitality.
Sure.
And Atiti Devo Bhava, which is like your guest is like a god. That is one thing which is really in our blood, that we've been a great host, and we are not doing this per se to like impress the media or the journalists. It's like I said, this is in our bringing. We anybody who's coming to Jaipur, we'll take them out. We'll host dinners. We'll show them around.
Yeah.
And coming back to this room where we are sitting, the idea was, when I designed it with my friend Mariano Jans, who's also popularly known for Bar Palladio and a few other major projects, which has completely changed the scene of Jaipur. So I wanted to stick to this hot pink color, and because Jaipur is a pink city. And then the ceiling of the room was done as mud homes of Rajasthan, surrounded by all these opulent jewelry, but you're still sticking to your roots. Jaipur and Rajasthan is all about colors.
Right.
And then what you see here, which is very unique, is most jewelry places where you go, you're shown what they want to show you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And out here we change that.
Right.
Out here we are like, this is like your wardrobe, walk-in closet, open up a drawer, see what. So that instills a lot of confidence in our clients, because they know we are not trying to force any sale on it. Our idea is for them to just truly enjoy
the experience
without feeling the pressure of buying something. And to cut it short, is for people who are coming to a city, and especially to Gem Palace, they leave with the fondest memories of Rajasthan. That they came here and they were allowed to try $millions worth of jewels without any apprehension.
Right. So I asked you earlier, but I don't think we got to it. Where does Gem Palace have a presence now? Because I know you're in Istanbul.
New York, Istanbul, Korea, and then the other places, we keep having trunk shows.
So every place has its own culture, right?
Yeah.
How do you navigate this when you're a brand that has a presence in so many different places?
So when it comes to that, for the Asian culture, we do things which are smaller in size, and they have higher quality, and they need certificates for everything about the authenticity and all, as compared to the American market, which focuses more on storytelling behind every piece, or the design idea about a piece, versus Middle East, which is all about opulence and big and
when you do this, how important is it to associate with celebrities? I know that your brand gets a lot of organic endorsements as well, but how important is this, and does it actually translate into conversions?
It is important that with celebrities wearing your piece, because that's the representation of your brand. Going back in history until date, Gem Palace has never paid a celebrity to wear the pieces. They buy Gem Palace piece on their own. We have never actually had a brand ambassador, or we have never paid anyone per se to showcase a piece. And I would say, right from the days of Jackie Kennedy to Lady Diana, to Gayatri Devi. So royalty is a big brand ambassador for us, because they
from the old days.
To the modern days, I would say Gwyneth Paltrow, Nicole Kidman, to our Bollywood celebrities. They have also come because they know about the history of the brand.
You've never reached out to an influencer for social media, things like that?
No, we haven't.
And what about trade shows?
So we have, we have never participated in a trade show in India.
Mm-hmm.
We have never done that. There's always this mystique behind Gem Palace that people want to come and visit and see it. So we never go out and exhibit. And it's always behind the closed doors what happens, you know.
Right.
And that is the concept, that Jungle Mein Moor Nacha Kisne Dekha is that nobody knows what's going on. However, with this whole Instagram and people posting our jewelry, it's pretty, much a public knowledge now that
Yeah.
what pieces Gem Palace is doing, but we still never showcase the pieces which
Yeah.
are extremely important pieces.
Yes.
That's always done by appointment behind the closed door in this pink room.
Right.
And we have done museum shows. We did Somerset House. The Treasures of the Gem Palace was the name of the show in 2006. It was by far one of the most successful standalone show.
This was in?
This was in London
Right.
in 2006.
Right.
We had over 30,000 people who visited the show in a span of a week.
Wow.
And which actually there were more people who were intrigued, and they saw the Gem Palace where there was a parallel show going on for Tiffany and Company, but we had more visitors than that.
I'm not surprised.
So that was there. Then we had a 2014 Jewels That Enchanted the World
Yeah.
India exhibition at the Kremlin Museum in
Sure.
Moscow.
Uh-huh.
So and obviously the feather in our cap, we were the first Indian jewelers to be represented at the Metropolitan Museum
Yes,
of
of
Art
course.
in early 2000.
Yeah.
So these all are like great achievements, I would say, and something that Gem Palace and our family has not done only for the jewelers of Jaipur, but also the jewelers for India.
With Indian jewelry, do you feel that there's a need, if I want to sell jewelry in a different market internationally, to adapt what I'm doing? Because, I mean, you have to some degree adapted Indian crafts, right?
Yeah.
So there is a need to sort of to alter it somewhat to meet the demands of a global market.
India right now is probably the most talked about nation everywhere in when it comes to fashion or art or anything that's to do with the luxury market. India is the target audience.
We are the market,
and we are the market. For India, people always thought it's the number game, right?
Right.
It's the opposite of what I was talking. It's quantity versus quality.
Yeah.
That you'll give anything in India and that would sell. But that then Indian customer has changed.
Right.
We are at par with a European or an American clientele in terms of demand in quality, in terms of like having one of a kind piece coming out of a fashion home.
Mhm.
This wasn't the case in early 2000 when we were the only Indian brand representing India in America or on a global platform. The challenges were very high because traditionally an American an American mindset was that the quality comes from Italy and France.
Right.
That's it. And everything else is junk. And especially with the Indian jewelry, they would think it's the jewelry that's produced in bulk and sold very in a mass market manner. So that has changed. So you would never see Indian celebrities or Indian designers like Rahul Mishra and all being worn at the Met Gala.
Right.
I could never imagine that happening 10 years ago.
Yeah. And it's all connected, right? So we all get sort of a little bit of everyone supporting everyone in that sense.
Yeah, which is great. It's like when you talk about India, then we are one big family of 1 billion people.
So in this evolving scenario, how do you see Gem Palace evolving? What's next for it?
What is next for us is we need to adapt and be with the fast changing times. One thing that we are not willing to compromise is our main brand ethos, which is about craftsmanship and quality.
Mm-hmm.
That we're still gonna continue and still try to make jewelry by hand and use the finest stones, and we'll still do that. However, in the past and even now, we don't follow the trend. Like there is a lot of things that we do becomes a trend, like in terms of jewelry. There's not a particular trend that we are following.
Can you give me a for instance?
So, like I would say that when my father started, nobody would have ever thought that these Indian polki necklaces could be worn on a t-shirt. And he popularized them as t-shirt necklaces, and it became a trend in New York.
How did he popularize?
I think so. He just had his way. He was very loved. He was talented. He was naturally gifted.
Yeah.
And the main thing was he was very authentic about what he did. It was amazing because you would see not only celebrities but all these New York socialites wearing like big polky hat on their white t-shirt and walking down on Fifth Ave or Madison Avenue. That was a trend that was started by my dad in early 2000 when nobody ever thought of like touching Indian jewelry because they would always think that the polkis were glass, you know.
Yes,
They
glass
would not-
beads.
How he did it, like I said, he was a gifted man.
Interesting. What advice would you give jewelers looking to set up a global, presence?
I would say stay rooted, authentic, rooted, your tradition, culture, take pride in producing the Indian jewelry, Indian. Like I said, when you'd spoken to my brother, he's 10 years younger to me and he's more with like the tech world.
We're going to bring him around. Hi, Samarth. So I was just talking to your brother about what's next for Gem Palace.
So it's very important for us to actually have that touch and feel aspect of jewelry.
Right.
So, to be on this online platform, you need to have a production to another scale. And sometimes in that scaling up the production, you sometimes lose that touch.
Absolutely.
You lose that personalization. Like when we are looking into things, I'm looking into each and every aspect of each and every piece we're making.
Yeah.
So that was one of our concerns that, there is impersonalization regarding pieces. Like we really recognize all our pieces. We know the history behind them, which stones, when these stones were bought, when this gold was cut, which artisan made it. And we love it like that.
Because you're very hands-on.
Very hands-on sort of the thing. And obviously when you get into that online domain, you need to be more about scale, more about quantity and the process and how quickly it's going to get to the customer, how perfect it is to the measurement. And And jewelry is something made by hand. So you cannot always get that exact same thing every time.
That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty of it. And so, we do want a small section of our jewelry, which is easier to make. And it's something that we would like to kind of recreate in different forms and versions. I'm not going to be selling the exact same thing over and over again. So our website, the little project I'm working on is like a website which is an invite-only website for our clients who've been regular buyers.
Wow.
It's not going to be open to public.
That's fantastic.
And that's where we display all those pieces which we have spent so much time making.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, because of, the craziness and they can't travel to Jaipur.
Yeah.
I want them to just see what's new and what's coming out.
So will they be able to click and buy?
Yes, they will be.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So the whole payment gateway setup has been going on, and
it's not just the payment gateway, the packaging, all of that would be...
all of that will happen here.
Yeah.
Physically, again, I will be looking into it.
Yeah.
It's not scaled to a level where, it can just be like an ongoing thing constantly, because I don't want to lose the touch of making like this keeping each and every piece special.
Each piece special, and also you all have a very close connect with customers, right?
Yeah. So then, jewelry is all about trust. Jewelry is all about love and believing and giving the best possible thing to your friend. So that is why when you sort of build that relationship with someone, that person would always come to you, not just for jewelry, for other things too. They would call me for, let's say, the jewelry, or they would call me for what's good to do in the city, or if I have a friend in some other place.
Sure.
So that's the sort of relationship we end up building with these people.
Right. And that's so important when you're dealing with a product like this, right?
Yeah.
To have that close personal relationship, because ultimately in India, do you feel that culture still exists of the family jeweler?
In our case, yes.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of marketing happening.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to be distracted. It's very easy to just walk into a store, deal with a salesperson.
Yes.
And just see what's there. And then, there's all these bigger brands like Tata and, Tanishq and all. You know exactly that this is the quality and this is that.
Yeah.
And I know there's the way they make jewelry is much, much larger than, let's say, a small family-run business.
Yeah.
But in our case, we've been very fortunate that those family relationships have been going on since then.
Yeah.
And that's something which we take the most pride in.
Yeah.
Is that someone who's coming in here that my great-grandfather has dealt with their great-grandfather and so on.
Wow.
So it's for me that it's a matter of pride that they still have that trust in that relationship, and we don't take it for granted, because It's something our ancestors have worked hard on.
Yeah.
It's extremely unfair that if we do something to those people, so it's generational trust is lost. Everything you think of online becomes, oh, it's not like impersonal and all.
Yeah.
I think as a family jeweler, we work that sort of experience. Obviously, it's online, so it automatically, we have all these people. We just want to make things a little bit more convenient.
Yeah.
I get calls all day because people want something to give their daughters or something to give their daughter-in-laws or brother-in-laws or something like that.
Yeah.
Like a set of buttons or something. And sometimes it's just good to have a catalog for them to browse through.
Means I would just say, that create what makes you happy and has a story behind it and makes the wearer happy. They say that we come and go, but the jewelry remains forever.